I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 134, People Pleasing and Infidelity with Sara Fisk, part 2. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to part 2. I hope that you loved part 1 and could feel the power of Sara. She is quite the powerhouse, quite the teacher, leader, and she really has put to practice all the things that she's teaching you. So I'm just going to turn it over to the second part of our conversation.
And so in terms of infidelity, tell me what you think that sets them up for.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Here we go.
Easy question.
Yeah. Okay. So I work primarily with people who have experienced the betrayal. They're on the side of being betrayed, but I do work with both. And it sets both parties up pretty nicely for catastrophe. It really does. And first, I'll speak to the person who is doing the betraying, okay? One big piece of it is not having a solid sense of who they are, very much looking for belonging and validation outside them, and also lacking the skills to know how to ask for it. A lot of the time it is about, who am I to ask for more, or not wanting to rock the boat, or being afraid of conflict, okay? Being afraid. But it often is really, truly lacking the tools and skills to have those conversations that can be really uncomfortable. And so if the skill is not there to say, hey, this is what I want, can we collaborate to create more of what we both want here? Often what will happen is walls will go up and up and up as both parties are not feeling that belonging, not feeling validated, not feeling like their needs and wants are being met, kind of closing off to each other. And it leaves a vulnerable situation, right? If you think of a tight container, you're drilling holes into it, right? There's places for energy to leak out, right? Often in some situations, what this looks like is if somebody has somebody coming to them, this is a situation that I hear all the time where somebody came to them for help. Okay. They were needing help and they were just needing some support because of this thing. Their mom died or their spouse was divorcing them and they were just needing help. And then they got kind of sucked into this and felt like the belonging and valued and, oh, you're so important and you're so special and you're so amazing. And they get this rush, right? This rush of, it really is like scientifically a chemical rush.
Yes.
But they feel that validation and they don't know how to give it to themselves and they don't know how to ask for more in their marriage. And so they become easy prey to this situation. Okay. That's one scenario. Another scenario is kind of like you said earlier, people who are socialized as men have this off ramp, like you said, of boys will be boys, they can't help it type thing. Mm-hmm. And that mentality can create a big problem called grandiosity, where it's like, I can skirt around the rules because it's just, it's just what we do. Like I can get away with things that other people can't get away with. I can behave in a way that others can't get away with. And then they make excuses for themselves. And you know what? The sad, tragic part about all of this is that neither of those are true in any way to who that person actually is. They are both false. They're both false, and neither of them will actually bring real satisfaction, real peace, because they're overriding their own integrity, right? They're overriding their own values, their own integrity, their own who they really are for this belonging. Okay. Now going over to my clients who have been betrayed, almost every time There's a few exceptions, but almost every time they knew. And there were moments where they knew it. They knew something was off. They knew it. And they had this intense fear of rocking the boat, making waves. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know. And so they shut down their own intuition until it kind of got to the point where they just couldn't anymore, or until it was like blatantly in their face and they had to deal with it. Right. And so where people pleasing can kind of create that dynamic is this: we are really good at gaslighting ourselves. Like, we'll have these intuitive hits, like really know something. I know this, like, know that there's something here. There's something to pay attention to. And then we're so quick at talking ourselves right out of that. No, no, no. And guess who knows this? Well, me. I do. Ask me how I know. I did that. In my first marriage, I had, oh my gosh, like there were so many blatantly obvious things that were a problem that were so terrifying to me because of what it meant, who I would have to be, of knowing it would make waves, of knowing that I would risk him being critical of me, him getting mean, him, and he did those things. And so it's no wonder that we shut it down, right? And where we want to feel belonging, we don't want to feel like we're on the outs of somebody. And anyway, back to your question, people pleasing, it makes us ripe for allowing behaviors within ourselves and from other people that none of us deserve. And that goes both ways. It goes both ways for the people who are doing it and the people who are at the other end of it. Like, it's hurtful to everyone involved, and it creates damage for everyone involved.
Yeah. I think the thing that I heard the loudest when you were talking was it's a lack of truth.
Yes.
All the way around.
Yep.
And if we want to talk about, just from the point of view of the usually female people pleaser, personality, we're used to lying, though. I mean, we're praised for lying. We are praised for pasting on the smile and saying, no, I'm fine. No, that didn't hurt. You were not mean. No, it was fine. It was fine. Oh, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, no, that works. I can make time for that in my schedule. And so it's such a mind trick to look at this dishonesty as something that is optional, right? First of all, because we're just so praised and raised to be liars, to tell us. I mean, you think about all the different ways in which we, as just humans in general, females in particular, are told to separate ourselves from the feeling that our body is having, right? We are told, like, I remember it was a big deal in my family growing up to finish your food. And my stomach would be full. And I would have somebody say to me, finish your food. You have to finish. And so I would have to disobey the feeling of fullness in my body to shove more food in. I remember having very uncomfortable interactions with adults and being told, but he's your so-and-so, or he's this. I mean, you need to disbelieve the discomfort in your own body and believe what I am telling you as this adult outside of you, who loves me, which makes it all the more confusing, that you are fine. There's nothing happening. Or being like enraged about something and being told to calm down, being told that my anger was wrong, or that I had to apologize when I did not feel like apologizing.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to step back and say that many of us come by this dishonesty honestly.
100%. Right? Yes.
And that it is kind of baked into the experience. And so learning to tell the truth is such a revolution in and of itself, because what it means is you have to slow down and actually make your logical experience mesh with your emotional or bodily experience. And that's just not something we're taught to do ever. Women routinely overwork, overgive, overperform to the point of exhaustion because we are so good at ignoring our pain, our cycles, our seasons, our emotional capacity. And so the fact that we are so skilled at that At self-deception, I think, in fact, when I teach, in my group, we have 5 challenges. And the first challenge is to tell the truth, because it is just such a huge revolutionary experience to slow down, to ask, what am I actually feeling about this? What do I actually sense in my body? Like, I know my brain is telling me it's fine, put on a smile, tell them everything's okay. But is it?
Mm-hmm.
And to slow that down it's such an incredible practice. But I think that's what I heard most in what you were describing, is that we have so little skill at honesty.
Yep. Yes, I will say in my work with both the people who have been betrayed and those that have, been unfaithful, it's fascinating to me and something that I've done a lot of work around with clients. Let me just give you a description, an example of what this looks like. Okay. So often there's a dynamic shift, okay, where there's this huge rupture. And there's this piece of my women that are so angry that they finally feel like they can say everything that they have been holding on to. And there's this relief to them. Like, you know what? The only way that I can even fathom staying is if I get it. It's like they purge, right? Just like often years of things that they've held on to that they finally they feel like they have the right. Is that sad? Like
It's
they finally,
so interesting.
I know,
Yes.
they finally feel like, okay, now I can say it all. And they do, and there is a relief there. Okay. But here's something that happens is that sometimes the balance shifts, and my clients then sometimes can be somewhat abusive to their partner. And the partner is in this one down position of, well, I'm the one that did this and this and this, so I just have to take it. And it's the same dynamic. And let me explain what that means. They were not telling the truth before, and they're still not telling the truth.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like they're just kind of taking what they're given because they think that that's all they deserve. And so they're not actually saying, this is what I want. This is the kind of relationship I want, because they don't feel like they can. And so part of what I do with my clients, often I'll have clients come and, like, let's say one of the people in my group, and she'll say, I was so mean. Like, I was so mean and I'm so ashamed and I'm so embarrassed. And there's no need to be, right? There's no need to be. We get to be human all day long. And then we get to look at it and go, okay, what kind of person do I want to be? And what's the gap between where I am and who I want to be? And how can I strengthen myself to that, right? And you know what? Just like you said, it's learning how to tell the truth and holding on to our own convictions and not being swayed, and managing sometimes the panic or massive discomfort that ensues when we speak our truth, right? And if you're going to create something that's sustainable here, you both need to have a space where you can tell the truth. Yes, there's the time of repair where it's very raw, and where you're needing to be there 100% for my clients when they're really raw and in shock sometimes, right? But when you're actually going back to the rebuilding, there needs to be room where both people can tell the truth, and where the person who did the betraying is like, I can have done this thing that I hate, that was wrong, that I am embarrassed about, and I can still be a worthy person that's worthy of the things that I want. There needs to be room for both. And there's a lot of growth that's required there on both parties to make room for that, right? To hold space. And then I've got plenty of clients who leave, right? Who say, I don't want to do that, but their work still is in carving out room for themselves, right? To really hear their own voice and understand why they overrode their own tuition and how they can support themselves moving forward, right? This work is necessary for all of us, wherever we are.
Because your work will be to tell the truth in whatever relationship you are in, even if it's just a relationship just with yourself.
Absolutely.
And I love what you said about telling the truth is the precursor to anything getting solved.
Yes.
Whether it's going or staying, whether it's divorce or reconciliation. I have had the position of being up front and center for several affairs all involving people that I love very much. And without telling the truth, without letting go of the extreme self-delusion and entitlement that the person who has the affair usually has, there isn't an opportunity to be in a relationship with someone who is actually themselves.
Oh.
And then without the person who was the victim of the affair stepping up to believe deeply in their own right to be who they are in the relationship, where they're not acquiescing anymore. They are not pretending everything is fine. They are not withholding what they want in the relationship too. I agree.
Yep.
It all starts with telling the truth.
Yep. And on both sides. And it's really, it's the only way. Like, it's the only way to create a true, sustainable relationship, right?
Yeah. Well,
no shortcuts.
here's no shortcuts. And here's one thing that I want to say, just as a side note, as someone who I have not experienced infidelity. We've talked before on this podcast about pornography being a part of our marriage kind of in the early days. And, the religious tradition that that you and I kind of share has very, very strict views. No pornography. It's bad. It's evil. It's like infidelity. But I went into a period of time where I really enjoyed having something kind of over my husband, in a way that I used in a way of like, listen, I might be cross and I might be critical and I might be judgmental, but at least I didn't do that.
Yes.
And him kind of being in the position of having to like, just take it because I did this horrible thing.
Yep.
The other dynamic that I want to talk about, though, is that when the people pleaser is in that position of taking the crumbs, it is often motivated by, I can't do better than this. I don't deserve more than this. Nobody will love me for who I really am because I've never shown anyone who I really am. And both positions, I think, are really not true, right?
Yeah.
Not an accurate description of what you as a human deserve. Where I see people pleasers kind of getting tripped up sometimes is that in a lot of our talking about affairs, it's interesting because, like, for example, if my husband hit me, I don't know that there would be many people our age in this kind of day and age where we are who would say to me, well, Sara, what did you provoke him? Were you not like, what did you do to bring that on yourself? Because we would just understand it as abuse and wrong. Now, can we recover from that? Can he do the work he needs to do? Yes, but it is his work to do. And in no way am I responsible for making myself less hittable.
Yes.
Right? Less abusable, right?
Yeah, yes.
But there's this interesting dynamic that I've seen when we talk about affairs, in that there's some victim blaming that slides in to the experience, because we do tend to look at the victim of infidelity with kind of like how did you contribute to this? Or how did you kind of bring this on yourself or create the dynamic in which this could have happened? And I'm just really interested in your thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, this has been one that I myself as a coach grapple with in my own understanding, my own definitions, my own truth. Okay. My own truth here.
Yeah.
And my thought is that at the end of the day, we all have choices, right? We all have choices, and that there are always other things we can do than the thing that we choose to do. Every time. And no one can make anyone else be unfaithful. No one can because here's the thing. It's not this, I'm going to go out and go do this thing. It never is that. Rarely is it like, I'm going to go cheat on my spouse. It's one small decision followed by another small decision, followed by another and another and another, where there are red flags screaming like, hey, pay attention, where there is a choice there. There is a choice of going, I could shut this thing down right now by doing this one thing. Nope, I'm not going to. And then often what happens is people feel like they got in over their head and often are quite miserable but they don't know how to stop it. And then also the people pleasing of the terror of telling the truth, right? The terror of being exposed because she's going to leave me or she's going to whatever, right? And so my angle is never, ever in any circumstances to say you drove him to do that. Never, ever, ever, ever. But I will say my whole mission, my whole vision for my clients is that we're going to take this crappy, sucky thing that is probably the hardest thing you've ever experienced in your life thus far. And we're going to use this thing and make it work for you. If this is what you are dealing with, we're going to mine for the gold and turn this into something that serves you. And how I go about doing that with my clients is I help them to see, like, for example, earlier on, I talked about if you have like a container, we all have ways that we leak energy out. We all do, right? If we think about this container that we're in with our partner, we all do. We all have areas where often around people pleasing, where, for example, maybe somebody's not always loyal to their spouse in the way of talking highly of them because they're afraid that their mother's going to judge, or I need to please my mom by chatting about my spouse, right? Like these are little poking little holes, right? And we're leaking energy out. And what we're doing is talking to other people about situations that we need to bring inside that container and let it get messy, let it get uncomfortable, let it churn so that it can be worked through there, right? And so a lot of what I do is I help my clients strengthen themselves to really looking at areas where they have muted themselves, where they've muted their own knowing, their own intuition, their own strength, their own value, their power, their authority. And I help them to step back into that so that they can tell themselves the truth of what they even want going forward, right? And, for a lot of them, honestly, what they can see where I did not know how to address the growing contempt that I felt to him. So I shut down and I pulled away and I withdrew intimacy and I withdrew. But this is not to blame at all. It's just collecting data, right? It's just to know, to see ourselves, lovingly hold ourselves and go, yeah, it made perfect sense for me to do those things when I didn't know otherwise, right? And then they can kind of look at that and go, yeah, I don't love how I feel when I feel like I have to hold everything in and shut people out just to survive. I don't love carrying that. That does not feel good to me. And so it becomes an act of love for themselves, right? To work through those things, but it's for them. And then other people get to be the beneficiary of it, but it's for them. Okay. Real quick, I wanted to go back to something you said about the stories that we tell in adapting, becoming people pleasers. And you reminded me of one that I directly was told. Okay. Want to hear it?
I'd love to. Oh my gosh. I'm getting ready to cringe because I just know what's coming.
Okay. So growing up, kind of crazy. My biological dad was actually killed in a plane crash when I was 2 days old. And my mom got remarried and he was abusive. They were married from when I was 2 till I was 5. And then my mom got remarried again. And he's still my dad and I love him, but it was rough growing up. He was pretty harsh and they were always dirt poor. And when I say dirt poor, all of my middle school years, we grew up with no electricity and an outhouse on the side of the road. And I spent a good portion sleeping in a tent with my brother and my sister in Oregon where it rained a lot and we were cold a lot of the time. So when I say poor, I mean we were poor. Okay. No plumbing, no phone, no electricity. And that was from 6th grade to 8th grade for me. Okay. And when we would go and express something that we wanted or that we were unhappy with, every time it was, you're so ungrateful. You don't know how good you have it. And those words have been a challenge for me to work through. Yeah. Like in my first marriage, here I am married to this successful lawyer and he financially takes good care of our family. We look pretty good on the outside. Wow. Right. Yes. And so I had to really battle with that, invalidating my own unhappiness and my own not being okay with some of the things that were there. That was a huge battle for me. But Andrea, look how good you have it. You're being so ungrateful. It took a lot for me to go, no, this is not enough. It's not enough, not for me, not for my kids. Real internal struggle there. I only mention that because I'll bet there's other people listening that have struggled with the same thing.
Oh, there is not a person listening who hasn't struggled with some form of that. And I love to just normalize it that way, because it doesn't matter if you are living in the horrible living conditions that you lived in, or whether you heard those words, you don't know how good you have it, living in a palace, right?
Yes,
there is something about that phrase that teaches us to doubt our inner experience.
Yep.
What you are experiencing is not valid.
Yes.
And something outside of you is the authority on what is valid and what is not. And so what I love about what you teach is your first job is to tell the truth, and then to collect and look at the data that you might have been afraid to look at.
Yep.
And when I do a lot of relationship coaching, I have a lot of women who say, I am afraid to do X thing because he or she might do Y thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to know what that thing is. And what I tell them is we actually do want to know, because it's data.
It's data.
It's data that shows how willing are they to be responsive to you? How willing are they to reciprocate? How willing are they to be in a relationship that is collaborative, that is growing, that is recognizing both of you as individuals? And oftentimes the answer when they get, whatever the why thing is that they were afraid of happening, is that it's great and it strengthens and moves their relationship forward in the direction that they want it to be going in. And sometimes it's not. And sometimes when they stop people pleasing, there are people who have been the beneficiaries of that people pleasing behavior that don't like it.
Yes.
And that want them to get back to people pleasing, get back to hiding yourself, editing yourself, not showing me who you really are because I don't like that. And what I want them to experience and know is that this hurts right now, but we actually want this data. Because moving through it means you have a choice to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't see you and doesn't want to see you, or to find a different relationship where somebody will. And you can choose either one. I don't know why, right? But there are reasons, even temporarily, sometimes we stay in relationships where we are not seen. But what I love is that it doesn't really matter how the not seeing is happening, whether it's infidelity or something else, whether it's something like in my own marriage where there wasn't infidelity, but I was afraid to stand up in some ways and be me, because I thought it would be quote unquote too much. That's a message that we get a lot. Don't want too much. Don't have too big emotions. Don't be too angry. Don't be too loving. Don't be too joyous. Don't be too needy, because, people won't like that. But to be that person and to feel loved and accepted as that person, first and foremost by me, and then to show these parts of me to my husband, has been what has renovated our relationship time and time again, what has resurrected it, what has rejuvenated it. I'm thinking only of our words right now, I guess, but the way in which our relationship has become the beautiful, beautiful thing that it is today is by increasingly being able to tolerate the discomfort of telling the truth.
Yes. Amen. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Something that I believe to my core and that I teach and help my clients develop into is that there's this beauty in knowing that somebody's telling you the truth, even if it's hard for you to hear. That is intimacy. That's intimacy, right? Really, somebody letting you in on what is the most true thing for you, even when you know that they are taking a risk, right? In sharing with you. And holding that for each other, even if there's temporary conflict, even if it's temporarily uncomfortable, there is a beauty and strength in it that really is transformative. It's transformative to go, I can be this person. I can hold space for this other person who is exposing themselves. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Even if it's difficult, there's beauty in it, right? we got to know who we're with, right? Who we really are with. And often to know who we're really with, we need to let them bump up against who we really are to see, can they meet me there? Right.
Yeah. And the precursor to that, which is where I get so many of my clients when they come to me, is I don't know who I really am.
Yes.
I've been pretending to be this other person for so long and being so richly rewarded. Everybody thinks I'm so nice. Everybody thinks I'm so kind, so helpful, so giving, so generous. And I live with this constant like bubble of resentment just below the surface. I don't like that, but I don't know how else to do it. So to find the truth, the true version or the truest version of yourself that is available, to trust it, that is the precursor to even being able to offer that to someone else. And so I am so excited to come into your community and talk about how to do that. And I'm going to give, everyone listening kind of just a sneak peek. It all comes down to the same thing. It is tolerating discomfort. It is having the tools to tolerate the massive amounts of anxiety and panic and fear and worry and self-doubt that come up as a natural, normal part of this process when we dig for that truth, when we find it, when we think about living it, when we think about showing it to other people, when we imagine their reactions, their judgments, their criticisms. It is being able to tolerate the discomfort of that. And I'll just give a quick little, something to think about. You're already tolerating massive amounts of discomfort, hiding. And pretzeling,
so true. Yes.
And placating and, chameleoning yourself into whoever you think people want you to be, and being afraid of standing up and saying what you want to say. You're already tolerating so much discomfort. What I want to do is just show you how to say different words, the truth, right? To trust that and to feel a different kind of discomfort.
Yep. Yes. It's like, I think of the first version there of like being all contorted, right? All contorted and like, I'm just going to hold myself in this very uncomfortable position for as long as I need. And like your leg going numb and, getting a Charlie horse.
So good. Such a good visual. Right? Yes. Yeah.
To unfolding and that, that discomfort of stepping forward. It's forward motion that can feel like, if you think of going to the gym and intentionally growing new muscle on purpose, it hurts, right? It's uncomfortable, but you know what you're doing it for. There's intention in it. Like that it's the highest act of love for yourself, right?
That's such a good metaphor. I love the visualization of that, contorted woman. And what I say, I use that metaphor of lifting weights a lot. Like in the beginning, when you are uncontorting and you're like unfolding yourself and it feels like you're standing naked before the world, that is like lifting the weights, right? And you start with 2 pounds. But what you realize is that is a virtuous cycle that makes you stronger, whereas the cycle of staying contorted only creates atrophied muscles that don't work the way they're supposed to anymore. And it produces more of the same of that. Mm-hmm. People expecting you to be the contorted woman, whereas saying what you want to say, trusting your intuition, knowing who you really are becomes easier and easier and easier to do.
Yes, I love it. Oh, so good. We covered so many amazing things. I know there's lots more that we could say, lots more we could talk about. It's been such a joy to have this conversation with you. We've covered a lot of ground. Let's wrap up a little bit here with how can people learn more from you, Sara?
My website is Sara Fisk, SARAF as in fun, ISK.coach. Yes, .coach is is an internet thing these days. And my podcast is the Ex Good Girl podcast. You can find it on any of the podcast platforms. And I help women stop people pleasing. I take individual clients, and I have a 6-month course that is done in a group setting where the healing power of a community of women who are all kind of working toward the same goal. That's what you offer your clients. And I would guess that your clients have the same experience mine do. It is just such a beautiful work to do in a community of cheerleaders and other people where you learn from each other. And it's just a really beautiful way of doing this work, which I love so much. And I would really love for my listeners to know where to find you, because I know for sure that there are people who are struggling with this either privately or, maybe with trusted people around them who could really use your wisdom.
Sure. Yeah, you bet. So I also have a podcast. It's Heal from Infidelity is the name of my podcast. You can look up that or Andrea Giles. My main program, it's a group program. It's called Get Your Life Back After Infidelity. And it's just a group of amazing, amazing women who want to reclaim themselves, reclaim their life, and be very deliberate about how they move forward. And a process that I take them through, it's called the post-infidelity growth method that I've developed. And it's simple, but it's not easy, right? This work that we're talking about, like simple things to remember, and then the discomfort of actually pulling the trigger and going and doing the things, right? So I do some one-on-one work as well, but my main offer is this group, partly because of what you said earlier. I have seen, it's just transformational for people to be in the same room with other people who are experiencing the same things. There's just something so healing about sitting on a call and hearing somebody say the words that are in your head, right?
And it's amazing.
It's amazing to go, oh my gosh, like I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. Like truly to know that, like that the struggles that you are the most embarrassed of or the most afraid to let somebody see, to see somebody else say the very things that you've been holding on to. And so there's great power in being in a group and watching other people, and then also learning to take up space in a group, even that piece. Right?
It's so good.
Oh my gosh. So good. Like, please, it's yours. It's yours. Speak up, take up space, right? And so there's a lot of growth there, but those are the main ways to learn from me.
Well, it's beautiful. I just cannot ever get enough of women, humans socialized as women, coming together to heal, because I feel like that is something that our modern kind of way of living has deprived us of, right? Yeah. We're often having these very siloed, lonely experiences. And what our brain tells us in that moment is, you know what? I think there's something like extra special, super broken about you. Right. And like you uniquely are damaged or unfixable in this way that other people don't seem to be. And so it just kind of reinforces that, like, I can't tell anyone, I can't open up about this. And in these communities, there's just the most lovely unfolding of our human experiences. And everybody looks around and is like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm not extra special, super broken on any level. This is just the human experience. It becomes so much more doable and so much more of a joyous celebratory act when we witness each other taking steps forward into telling the truth. And into living the kind of life that becomes available when you tell the truth.
Exactly. And one more thing that I'll say is that my program is such that they can join when they're ready to join. I've done it both ways, where there's like one start date where they all start and finish. And then I've done it where I have people like when they're ready to join. And what I've seen is that in that second model, people can look to somebody who's been in the program for like a month or two. And like, it's just so profound to see how much we can grow so quickly when we have the right support. Right? When we have people around us, where we have the right tools. And so for my brand new people who get in there and are a little afraid and nervous, and they can see these other women who are just like going for it, right? There's something so loving and like reaching back and helping our fellow travelers, right? Helping them on their journey. And it can be healing for the people that are a couple of steps ahead, because then they can see, I was there like a month ago, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just really, really powerful. It's really powerful. Yeah.
I only have one rule in my group, and I'll pass it on because I think it should be our rule for any time we talk. The first rule is you never start a sentence with "I'm sorry," but you
Love
cannot
it.
apologize because we apologize, right? For taking up space, for airing this part of our lives that we think is so, terrible and bad. And the second is I just give everyone in my group the thought, if she can do it, so can I.
Oh, I love it.
If she can do it, so can I. So
I
no
love it.
apologizing. If she can do it, so can I. I have found to be really great places for any of this work to start.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. So good. I know that I'll be thinking about it myself, tossing it around, thinking about it. So many great things here. I've loved talking with you.
Well, I am so excited to have my people listen to this and to have you as resources and to be in your group doing this work with your alumni.
I know they will love you. Yes. I know they will love you. Sara's coming into my group in February, being a guest coach, and we're going to dive into all of this with my people. So wonderful.
Can't wait.
All right. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's andreagiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.